The 417 Gamers is a group of board, tabletop, and card gamers in the 417 area code. This is the podcast.
Welcome to the 417 Gamer Podcast, Episode 6, The One with Heavy Games. As usual, Andrea and I start the 417 Gamer Podcast with 4 things we are enjoying and looking forward to in the 417 area. Then, in our one topic of the month, David from Board Game Famous stops by and we discuss hosting a game night. And then in the top 7, we discuss our top 7 heavy to us games. Without further ado, let's get into the 417 Gamer Podcast.
Welcome to the 417 Gamers. My name is Rick.
And I'm Andrea.
In the 417 Gamer Podcast, we do the 4, the 1, and the 7. In the 4, we're looking at 4 things we've either enjoyed in the 417 area or are looking forward to in the 417 area. Andrea, what is something that you enjoyed in the 417 area recently?
Well, I enjoyed our first ever Valentines gaming date night event at Galloway Station. Ben and Leandra from Moon City,
Who came on the last podcast.
yes, they sure did, organized this, and wow, how well it turned out was amazing. They had roses and balloons and door prizes and giveaways.
Leandra decorated fantastically.
It was beautiful. You could see our pictures online. But I was really tickled how well this went for a first year event. I was really happy. We had some new faces that I'd never seen before came out. So that's always exciting. We played games. We ended up with a Cupid version of One Night Werewolf at the very end.
Themed werewolf. And she made it where the cherubs were driving the townsfolk mad and sending them out. And within that, cherubs were bad. And Aphrodite was on the cherub side, kind of, basically. Mm-hmm. So the cherubs were trying to send the townsfolk out.
Mm-hmm. And Cupid was the seer. If you played werewolf before, Cupid
he was on town side. He wanted people to love.
Exactly. He knew who was human and who wasn't. And it was funny because in werewolf, I feel like the seer says who they are, or at least tries to convince you that they're the seer.
Yeah.
Our Cupid forcefully tried to tell us who was cherubs without revealing that he was Cupid.
Yeah. But I understand that because in werewolf, if you give yourself too early without knowing,
you get killed off.
Yeah. So did you actually help the group? Because now you're gone.
Yes.
So he knew somebody that was bad. So the way Catherine played that was if you found somebody Team Town good, thumbs up. If you found somebody that was bad and you didn't know if that was Aphrodite or the cherubs, you got thumbs down. In addition, there was a role that we called the chocolatier. Mm-hmm. Chocolatier is making concoctions, falls asleep and forgets who they are, and they don't know what role they are until night 2. So it ended up that Ben... Was it Ben or Leandra?
It was Ben. He thought he was a human, but he didn't realize he'd become a cherub.
Yeah. And so neither one of them knew that they were...
They were trying to vote each other off.
Whole game?
Not knowing they were on the same side. It was very enjoyable. I would play that again right now. I think the entire group had a good time. I thought it was well done.
I think so.
I think we'll do it again next year. Bigger and better.
Yeah. I want to say that I enjoyed Carl's birthday. If you go to Metagames in Springfield, if you go multiple times, you're going to see the crew. You see Jeremy, you see Matt, you see Seth, you see Alan every now and again. You're also going to see Carl. Carl is great. He knows his miniature games, and if you have any ideas on what you want to play, he can get you set up. He also knows role-playing games pretty well. Mm-hmm. Pretty good versed in board games with us. Likes to play when he can.
Yeah. And he's a really talented painter.
He is. He's painted some amazing stuff.
Yeah, his minis are great.
But his birthday was coming up, and his wife reached out and did a game night at the game store. Mm-hmm. Saturday nights, sometimes they're busy, sometimes they're not. But she made a buffet of everyday Thai. Mm-hmm. So there was some amazing food on hand. And then she had like 7 different kinds of cupcakes on hand.
And a birthday cake and pizza.
Yeah, she had it all for his birthday. And she's like, oh, come out, play games, celebrate Carl's birthday, make fun of him, go home.
And I love that the cupcakes were like 80s themed. Each cupcake had a little flag that either said Atari or Nintendo or
MTV
something.
MTV or Donkey Kong.
Yeah, and then you had to look at the chart to find out what flavor of cupcake that was. It was really cool and fun.
Yeah, MTV was like strawberry icing on strawberry cupcake. Donkey Kong, I think, was chocolate on yellow cake. Yeah, delicious cupcakes. She did an amazing job. And happy birthday, Carl. It was good to party with you.
Yeah.
Andrea, what are we looking forward to?
Well, I am looking forward to going to Planet ComicCon.
In Kansas City?
In Kansas City.
That's not 417.
It is not 417. However, I am from the 417, and I'm looking forward to it.
Right.
For several reasons. One, I love going to Comic-Cons, and they will have a board game area.
So you're going to drop me off to my...
At the babysitter. I'll drop you off in the babysitting room with the board games.
Will you watch him? I've got to go get a signature.
But I've always gone to the Comic-Cons for years, and we have not been to Planet Comic-Con since before COVID.
Yeah.
And you have never been, ever.
No, not Planet.
And it's big, guys. It's real big. It's at the Kansas City Convention Center.
I went to the one that was on the opposite side of the calendar that they were just calling like Kansas City Comic-Con or something like that. Which is considerably smaller, but that was a nice little time too.
Yeah, so I am excited to go. I've never usually when we go to Planet Comic-Con, I'm all about you go from line to line to see panels, get your autographs, check out the vendor room. I have yet to play a game in the board game room, so that will be a first for me.
So you're gonna drop me off, and I don't even know what games are there.
We can take our own games.
If I go there and they're just going to be like Monopoly, I'm going to be sad.
Oh, I don't think so.
You're just going to be like, get over it. Play with your friends. I'll pick you up after a couple signatures.
Don't get in any fights.
Don't get any fights. No. I'm going to fight too.
Well, what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to Pie Day. Catherine is an amazing baker, amazing cook. And one thing that we like are her cookies. But one thing that she doesn't bring out as much, because they're a little more labor intensive, are her pies. So to promote Moon City Con and the 417 Gamers, she is holding Pie Day. 3.14. So March 14th at Metagames, Tuesday night around 6:30, something like that. I think there's an ad read in this podcast if you dare. There's going to be pies, there's going to be board games. And if you've gotten your badge from Moon City Con, by the time Pie Day happens, they're giving away a copy of Teal'tum, which is it's a dice drafting, resource management, route building game. If I saw it right, it trips a lot of triggers for people that like their mechanics games. It looked really interesting, and there's a playthrough up on the 417 Gamer page.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
With Catherine and Brian. So if you're interested in that game, you want to see how it plays, hop over there, so watch them play it, and maybe we'll see you at Pie Day if you're in the 417 area.
Absolutely.
So those are the 4 things that we have enjoyed or are looking forward to in the 417. How about we get on to the one topic of the month? What's the topic of the month?
Game day. Hosting a game day.
Ooh, and we've got a guest. Let's hop over to the next segment, and we'll find out who our guest is.
Hey guys, we were just talking about it. Pie Day coming up March 14th at Metagames in Springfield. Moon City Con will be on hand, teach the games, they'll have some pies, and if you've gotten your badge for Moon City Con at the standard level or better, you're eligible for a giveaway. It's a copy of Teal'tum, an excellent dice drafting, route building, resource management game. Head over to the Facebook page at mooncitycon.com or over to the 417 Gamer YouTube page if you'd like to see a playthrough of Teal'tum. But without further ado, let's get on to the topic of the month in the 417 Gamer podcast.
Topic of the month, we're looking at hosting gaming nights, and we are joined by a ghost. A ghost.
Ooh.
We are joined by a guest, David from Board Game Famous.
Hello.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So, I've kind of been running a game night at Metagames for 7+ years. Plus, we do gaming events all around, and then we've been trying to do a little more hosting of game nights here. David, do you host a lot of game events? Did you used to?
I used to. That was before I had a daughter 6 months ago, which is why I've stopped showing up to game night on Thursdays.
It happens.
But now that she is sleeping mostly through the night,
yeah,
I'm hoping to start coming back to game nights. I miss them.
That'd be nice. But understood, gotta take care of the kiddos. You gotta take care of the wife.
Yeah.
Can't just leave them high and dry. Babe, gonna go game.
I'm fortunate enough though that my wife plays all my games with me.
Does she?
I think she's played.
Nice.
I think she's played every game in my collection.
Wow.
I know, except for the ones that I haven't.
Oh,
played.
no pressure there. No pressure there. Woo.
Nope, he's already said it.
And that includes some of the. I'm assuming that the topics are discussed beforehand as well. Yeah. So, and then that's including some of the heavy games as well.
Nice.
Some of the ones that I didn't think she would either gravitate towards or even be willing to try. But
and you don't know what's going to hit.
I know.
You have a good idea of games that will hit, but then you don't know some of them that you're like, oh, this is great. Because honestly, I wouldn't have tagged Andrea for liking Terraforming Mars as much as she did.
Yeah.
And the game we played was kind of punishing. It was a 5-player everything all-in game.
That was what I
All
was
the
gonna
expansions. Woof.
And then when we got home, she's like, this has an app? I said, yeah. So for the next month on the app, she played it every day.
Yep.
And then we had to go get the game out, and
Yeah.
I'm like, well, there's a drafting variant. How does that work? We played that. I'm like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But no, on hosting the game nights, I don't know. How much do you try and pick a specific game whenever you have your game night, or do you try and get the crowd first and source the game?
So usually for me, it's if I'm having people over, it's going to be one of those larger games. It's going to be more of an event game. So those are the ones that we pick a game. I ask who else is going to be playing. I say, hey, learn the rules beforehand. This is the best video that I found.
Yeah.
Go ahead and watch this. And then everybody comes in prepared. I think that's the way I like to do it.
Gotcha.
When I have game nights with Ellen, what we like to do is mix it up where we do the bowl game, where we rip up strips of paper for 7 or 8 different games each, put them in a bowl, and go every game night we draw out of that. Oh. So it's about a 50-50 shot of whose game gets picked.
Yeah.
And it's a good way to get a lot of diverse games in there as well, playing through more of a collection than just playing the same thing over and over.
Gotcha. That's nice. I've been in the group so long, and I've had some of the friends, and it's usually the people that are coming over that I can kind of know what their taste and the Venn diagram converge, and then I'll throw out like 5 games I have back there. This year's changed, though, because of one of my New Year's resolutions was I need to get my unplayed games down to single digits before I can buy again. And when we started the year, it was at 48.
Wow.
Yeah, and as of this recording, I think I'm down to 38, so I've gotten 10 of them out.
Yeah.
So if I can, about 8 to 10 a month, I can start buying games again in April.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
I mean, there's some big, heavy games on there as far as time and weight. And then there's some easy games. I just got to find the time to just squeeze those in on a game night because they're not going to be the feature game. But there's also some times when we're trying to sit down and him and Han figure out what game to play that you're like, hey, what about that? And people are like, nah.
That's why I like choosing the game. It gets rid of that, oh, what are we going to play tonight? Like, no, this is what we're doing tonight.
Yeah. So you're kind of the opposite of how we have done it in the past. We, especially we have, we try and tailor the game to the friends that we're having over. So kind of the other way around. Especially like with my family, they're just totally family weight games. And we also tried combining it with having them over for dinner and then games after. But we only did that a few times because we realized very quickly that the dinner eats up your gaming time minutes. So we're like, eat before you get here.
So I think the reason I am the way, the reason I have game nights like that, where I choose the game, is a lot of my friends. So I've recently moved from St. Louis. I'll have to get a new game group here with the 417 Gamers.
Sure.
But back in St. Louis, I was friends with quite a few people who liked playing those heavy strategy games. But I was the only person that bought the games. I owned the collection. So it was like, this is what we're doing today.
See, in this group, there's a lot of people that still have that acquisition disorder. Like, oh, that was really fun. I'm going to buy it. And then you go back, how many times have you played your copy? No, I still play your copy, but I now have mine too. And I used to do that, but man, it's been so nice leaning on certain people in the group. Like the economic and the kind of the deeper strategy Euros, I can lean towards Catherine and Ethan. Some of the more party and family weight Kickstarter games, I used to be able to lean on Ben a little bit, but he's been going more of the heavier. He loves the Shem Phillips games, and he likes the heavier stuff too, like Coffee Traders. Coffee, blech. Coffee Traders, blech.
There's actually a game on my list that I played the first game night here, and I immediately sold my copy. It's like, people here play these games. I don't need to own them because I never play these.
And so another cool thing, and I've told so many people when they join the 417 Gamers, there's a game you're looking to try out that you've seen discussed, ask. Most of us will bring it out and play it. If not, at least give you an overview and tell you what to look for, and you can decide whether you like it after that.
And a lot of times that will bring out people. Specifically, they'll be like, I was told we were playing blah, blah, blah tonight. Where is that?
Yes. Scythe with all the expansions? I would play that. Yeah, and sometimes it's the new shiny. Like when we brought out Ark Nova, and like, I will not play that 4. I won't. It's so good. But 2 to 3 is our good spot.
I don't have a problem with 4 because that's how much I like the game.
That's fair.
It's going to last 30 minutes longer? Oh, no.
I've only played it once, and it was a 4-player experience.
Oh, yeah. So that's probably not how you should do it the first time.
I do have qualms with the game, but I had assumed it was going to be on your lists based on what I've heard from the podcast. So I guess
may or may not. Who knows?
But since I've only played it one time, I'm reserving judgment on it.
Oh, so good call.
Yeah. Game nights, where do you prefer to game at? Do you like gaming at home? Do you like gaming at the store? Or do you like going to another venue?
Since I like gaming at my place, I am very much a homebody. I don't like leaving. Unfortunately, I can't really have game nights at my place now, just because of the baby. Yeah. Unless my her grandma comes over and watches, then Ellen and I get a game day together.
Gotcha.
So that's typically what we do. I do love going to game nights at local gaming stores. Yeah. I travel for work every now and then, and the first thing I do is look up the local game night at that store, because that's what I'm going to be doing that week. I'm going to join their group for a week.
Gotcha.
And I think it's interesting to just see what different games are played in each area that I visit. That's just a fun experience. I want to see what kind of games does these people play at this game night, and it's just a fun experience. Yeah.
And what's the hot game for that area? What's the heavy game? And what's their gateway game for everybody? Because I know Catan is used quite a bit, but in this group, it's Azul and Splendor. And then I went to Grove Gamers Guild. I know they're in the rural area in Mountain Grove, Missouri. Red Dragon Inn and Suro. Those are their gateways for people. Yeah. They absolutely, love those. But for me, it's kind of a mix. I like gaming at home and having friends over, but I also like being able to go to different venues. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've been to so many different Classic Rock Coffee, Galloway Station, Pat and Alley Pub when it was still a thing. I enjoy reaching out to the different places, especially finding the night that they're slower, coming out there, giving them some business, and putting gamers out in public. There's still a stigma for a lot of people to come out to a game store. Whether it's the gatekeeping that used to happen with some grognards and some of the old school D&D and tabletop players, or if there's just the thing that's just childish and I don't want to go in there, who knows? But there's just a stigma to some people not wanting to go to a game store. About 7 or 8 years ago when we first started, named it the 417Gamers, most females did not want to go to metagames at all. They've remodeled the store. It looks a lot nicer. It looks a lot more inviting.
Metagames is great.
For just you're off the street person. To come into that store, it is dressed appropriately to attract people to come in.
Yeah.
It didn't used to be that way. It looked fine, but it looked like a typical game store. There was game posters on the walls. The Magic character posters that you saw were more the buxom ladies that were scantily clad, instead of I would say most of the art that they have on the wall, for the most part, is fairly... I don't think there's too many things that are offensive, but then again, I'm not really looking at each one. I just know what stared me in the face when I originally started going to metagame. Like, ooh, yeah, I could see it. But I like a little mixture of all of it. Andrea, what do you like?
Well, like you, I like all of it. I like that when we go to someplace like Lost Signal Brewing or something like that, people will be like, hey, what's that game? I've never seen that game before. So that's interesting to have that interaction with the public. And they're like, hey, can I watch you guys play? And so that's really cool and fun. And we're like, yeah, we tell them about our game group and stuff. So that's an interesting interaction that you don't get, just going to a game store to play or playing at home. Like you, I like playing at home because I can wear my slippers and my comfy pants but also, man, I got to tell you, our weekly game group that we have on Thursday nights where we go to metagames, it's kind of like a little tiny baby family reunion. Once a week, you're like, hey, how's it going? Oh, you haven't been out in a few months. Good to see you. And and there's so many different kinds of games. I've played games going to game store night that not only that we didn't have, but I would never have been like, oh, we got to get that game. And I've really enjoyed. So it's one way to play a game that you would never even thought about playing. So I like them all.
Yeah. The other thing, when you have game nights at your house, how do you handle food?
That's one of the things I was trying to think of. I usually have people eat beforehand, but I trust the people that come over. I trust people to be adults, and I don't mind if people eat while they play games, especially games that I own. My favorite story that I like to tell is when I play games, it was mostly when I played at work. So it would be an hour-long game we played at lunch. And we played a game of Dominion, which is a deck builder. You're always holding your hand of cards, and one of my best friends was eating chicken wings during it. So he had one hand saucy wings, other hand deck of cards. And then he was careful, considerate. He set it down, draw one card. This is what I wanted to do. This is what I wanted to do next. This is what I wanted to do next. And I watched him, but he knows to respect my stuff. It's just
that's still a ballsy play.
Yeah.
What's your gaming food of choice? Wings. I mean, I love my wings. But... yeah, I prefer to eat beforehand because I have noticed, especially when we cook and we have something nice, that it's hard to focus on both.
Yeah.
Not only as the game night, but if you're a guest at somebody's house, especially if it's, whether it's good food or not, you need to be nice and complimentary to the host. Be like, oh, this is really good. And all right, it's your turn. I'm like, oh yeah, well I was going to take a bite, and now I need to take a turn. And so, yeah, making sure that the gaming pieces are nice. That's fine. And I trust most of the people that that game with us too. Be an adult. Keep my stuff clean. If you mess something up, please replace it. And I think 99% of the people in our game group would be that way.
Yeah.
I've only had to get after a person, never mind. We'll leave that alone. But, Andrea, do you rather have food during or eat before?
Well, like I said, we used to try and combine dinner and game night together, but it just doesn't really work. So eat before, and if you need some snacks, have like some Chex Mix or something.
Now, I will say, I would say there's game nights that we're talking about, and game days are similar but different.
Right.
Because
you're going to be there for 8 hours.
Exactly.
You're going to need to eat at some point.
Then you do a nacho bar in the kitchen,
Yeah.
and you do the chips. That I understand. Food at the table, by all means.
Right.
Play the game, keep your hands clean. We'll have some wipes.
I will offer a word of caution, though, for those kind of breaks. If it's a negotiation game, make sure everybody eats together.
Yeah.
I played a round of Twilight Imperium one time. We had to have a lunch break, and everybody went off and plotted against me.
Oh.
Understood. But
harsh.
Catherine in the group, she, a lot of times during St. Patty's Day, it's happened multiple times. I don't think she's doing it this year, but she used to do Mega Civ, and she filled up as much as possible, and it never finishes on day one. So she got it to where she'd start playing it for 2 days. So the first day, you get there in the morning, she'd have some donuts and bagels, but for lunch she'd do corned beef, cabbage, and then in the afternoon it's kind of hand food, sandwiches. But for dessert, she'd do Irish car bomb cupcakes, which were amazing. And then for day 2, we would come back and we do whatever else everybody, And that, you're eating throughout the day. Everybody has their plate. And a lot of time people are plates to the side, but a lot of times people are just hemming and hawing and trying to make negotiations as they're like shoving food in their mouth. But yeah, Mega Civ is a love-hate game with me. I love the event. The game itself, for me, is kind of meh. But I like the people that want to play it, which is one of those things, like, I like all you guys, but I hate that game. And we have another friend that's kind of like that with Scythe, and there's another game he doesn't like. Aaron plays a lot of disc golf.
Yeah.
There's a couple games that he's not... he does not like Twilight Imperium. And when I was doing my 10 for 10 challenge 3 years ago, I put that on there and I got it done. And he was in 3 of the games.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah. And he's like, you got to play it again? And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, I'm not doing anything this weekend. I can come play. I'm like, you don't have to. He's like, but you're having X person out? Yeah. And you're having Y person out? Yeah. I'll come out and play. So, yeah. So I would say game day, long game day, slightly different than game night. Game night, I would like to eat beforehand, have the full belly, be nice, happy, and play through the game. But, yeah.
I will say a benefit of not playing at your house on a game night that does have a dinner, you usually don't have to clean up.
Smart.
Be very appreciative of your host.
Yes, absolutely. Be appreciative of your host. We have some great hosts in the 417 area. We've been over to Ethan's, Catherine's, Alan's, Kyle and Reagan, Ben and Leandra. We've been over to so many people's houses. Great hosts. Mike Harris. And yes, be kind to your host, please. I think that's all I got to say on game nights.
Yeah. Let's do one.
We should do one.
I've got the bug now.
So that was the one in the 417, one topic of the month. We got to go into the top 7 of the games.
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Let's go on.
Hey guys, Moon City Con is coming up quick. Moon City Con will take place June 9th, 10th, and 11th at the Hilton Garden Inn in Springfield, Missouri. Moon City Con is Springfield's premier board game convention. To get your badges, head on over to mooncitycon.com.
The 7 in the 417 Gamers is the top 7 games in a given category. We are doing the best 7 games that are heavy to us. Andrea, how did you go about making your list?
Well, it was interesting to me, of all the games that I played, to sort them into what was heavy. And what is heavy for me is not necessarily what's heavy for you.
Right.
So when making my list, I just I did the ones that I enjoyed playing. I am more of I enjoy the theme and the gameplay more than the mechanics, which is what you enjoy. So I'm sure that my list is going to be a little skewed from yours, but mine, it has a lot more of the fun factor for me. It was a lot bigger deciding point than
David?
I went to Board Game Geek, filtered by strategy games. Wanted to see, because I figured those would be of the heavier variety. So that's what I did. Went through, started listing down the ones that I enjoyed, and then I kind of did a mixed balance of this is heavier and I like it. So it was kind of in my head, I like this more, so I'm going to put it higher. Oh, this one's a bit heavier, and I like it just enough to put it higher than this one. Okay. No mathematical formula.
I gotcha. I went through what I've played on Board Game Geek. I went through filtered, sorted by the weight. And I went through the top 40 games, put those into a list, and then I started pulling those out, which ones I really like the best. And I kind of did a half and half, how heavy it is versus how much I like to play it. So even though I might like to play something, I might not find it as heavy. So let's, without further ado, number 7. David, what's your number 7?
My number 7 is Spirit Island. This is a great cooperative game where everybody plays as asymmetric spirits, trying to rid an island of the invaders. It's kind of a reverse Settlers of Catan kind of deal. I feel like this one's fairly heavy. It's got quite a barrier to entry because everybody's playing asymmetric powers. Everybody really has to know what they're doing. It solves the quarterbacking problem of a co-op game, but if you don't have somebody who really knows that game inside and out, it can be difficult for new players.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Andrea, your number 7.
Well, my number 7 is Scythe. I know recently we did a top 10 for everyone's favorite game in the 417, and it was the top game. Mine is down at number 7 because there is so much fighting. Like I say, I'm more of a co-op than I am, a battle type game. But I do still enjoy it. I do enjoy the game mechanics, the mechs I really enjoy. The different types of fighting and the mechs carrying people around is fun for me. It took me probably longer to learn it than I would have liked because there are so many different little pieces to it that you really have to know what you're doing.
Because each action has 2 pieces to each action.
Right, exactly.
There's gather, move, trade, and bolster.
Right.
And then out of all those, each one has a top action and then a bottom action associated with it.
Yeah, so it took that game longer to click for me than I think other games would have. But I do still enjoy it, and I like the people that we play with when we play. It makes it fun.
Gotcha. My number 7 is Terraforming Mars, published by Stronghold Games, designed by Isaac Frixilis. Board Game Geek has this rated as a 3.26 out of 5 as far as a weight. I really like this game, but it's not that heavy for me. Terraforming Mars is absolutely your first game is going to take a while because you're going to read every card and you don't need to. After your first game or two, you're going to look at the symbols, you're going to look at the cost and decide that I'm not going to be able to build this or this or this, and you're just going to chuck those cards right back. Because each round when you get your cards, you have to pay $3 per card. And $3 doesn't sound like a lot, but in space bucks, that's pretty punishing in space bucks. And your economy's so tight at the front, you see an asteroid that costs $25, like, oh. Then you realize you got to pay $3 to get the card, and then you need the $25 after you bought all your cards to then play it. And if you play it, that's probably the only thing you're going to do that round. Is that going to benefit you enough to do one round for one card?
Yeah.
A lot of times it's not. That's number 7 for me. Number 6, Andrea, what's your number 6?
Lost Ruins of Arnak.
Yeah, this is one we just recently got off the unplayed shelf.
Yeah, we we learned how to play it. A friend of ours already knew how, which was great because there was a lot to this game. Although I see your Board Game Geek rating is only a 2.9 out of 5.
That's what it's rated, but still.
As far as weight. But there was a lot going on in this game. Did we play with the expansions?
We did not yet,
but
we have the expansion.
You'll have to let me know if it's worth getting, because I have Lost Ruins. It's really good.
Yeah,
it gives everybody asymmetric starting boards. Mm-hmm. So, and we're interested to try that and see if it.
Yeah, the pieces were cool. The theme was cool, which is a big part for me. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, everybody's their own Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
My number 6 is Panamax. This is also published by Stronghold Games. This is a 3.75 on Board Game Geek. This is one when I bought this game a while ago on quite a few podcasts when it came out. Said, "Oh, this game is really cool. There's a lot of cool choices and options and mechanics." But the rule book is just tough to get through. It is just a bear. Yeah. And I read it twice, and I just came out of it going, there's so many other good games out there that I can read the book and understand. I ended up selling it to somebody in the game group, and then just forgot about it until we went over to Gary and Elizabeth's house. Mm-hmm. And they brought out, hey, we really want to try this at 4. We played it 2, and we like it okay. So we played it at 4, and I'm like, wow, okay. I'm not sad that I got rid of it because I don't, A, want to read that book again, and B, I don't want to teach it. This is very much in the realm of not Vlaada Chvátil, Weather Machine.
Vital
Lacerda. I like Vital Lacerda games, but I never ever want to teach them.
I can believe that.
Yeah. I love playing them because Catherine likes playing Lisboa. I'll play that. Jonathan in the group has the Gallerist. I'll play that. I still haven't played the Vinos. I need to play it. We played Kanban with Gary and Elizabeth. I like that. Mm-hmm. But I never, ever want to teach one of his games.
His are the heavy games that... He's the heavy designer that I have yet to play a game from.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've never played a Lacerda game.
David, you're number 6.
My number 6 is The Networks. This is actually one of the lighter games on my list.
Gilhova.
Gilhova Formal Ferret Games. This is one of the games that we sat down, played it wrong a little bit,
Ooh.
But it was still so much fun that we immediately bought it on the spot. In The Networks, you are running your own TV station, trying to manage your money, your viewers, the time slots for the shows, and the genre your network is showing. There's a little bit of set collection with the genre bonuses. While it is a little bit lighter, it's a little bit of on the lighter side of my list. I think that Board Game Geek has this rated as a medium game, just around a 3 on the weight.
Sure.
Any game that gives you essentially an abacus to calculate your end of round scoring has to be on my list of heavy games. It's a ton of fun, but there's a lot of scoring opportunities that you have to remember.
All right, that brings us to number 5. My number 5 is Arc Nova, Capstone Games, designed by Matthias Wiggy. This is a 3.71 on Board Game Geek. Arc Nova just has some moving pieces. It's very similar to Terraforming Mars. Your first game, you're going to read all the cards until you realize to look for the icons and get rid of cards. Don't be married to them. If you have something that you're not going to use within your first 4 or 5 rounds, there's a good chance when the coffee break comes, you're going to lose the card anyway. Mm-hmm. So get rid of it. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Stick to the wombats and the petting zoos that you're used to. David, you're number 5.
My number 5 is Coimbra, published by Eggertspiel, I believe. Mm-hmm. This is the game I ended up selling because I think Josh had it.
Yes, Josh loves this game.
It's so much fun.
Taught this to Josh, and he got it the very next day. And I wish he would have waited because I would have sold him my copy.
I think Coimbra is just a brilliant design because it is a game where you have exactly 12 turns. You take 12 turns in the game, but each turn is so impactful and meaningful, you have to think through exactly what you're going to do.
Yeah.
This is a dice drafting game, then kind of a bidding game where you draft a die. The die tells you the order that you get to buy cards in, the amount you're going to pay, and what kind of income you're going to receive at the end of the round.
Yeah.
And just how important those choices are make it for a very thought-provoking, heavier game. It also helps that this game, I think, has 7 phases each turn, each round.
Yeah. Number 5, Andrea.
Bruges for me. It is very rare that, especially when we're playing with Catherine, that she'll bring out one of her heavier games, and the first time playthrough, I understand what's happening. But this one really clicked for me. Yeah. I don't know if it was the area control with building a wall around the outside, or the rolling the dice. I don't know what it was, but I actually enjoyed it the first time through, and I didn't feel like my head was underwater.
Yeah, and on the surface, I don't really look at it very thematic for me.
Yeah. But
you really took to the game and really enjoyed it.
Yeah, there was just something about it that I really enjoyed. And I don't know if it was the theme or it just clicked with me. I liked it.
Understood. That brings us to number 4. David, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Scythe, a little bit higher
Hey.
up. I think you said your biggest complaint with Scythe is you didn't like the battling.
Yeah.
Most of my gaming is done with just my wife, so I play Scythe a lot 2-player. And there is not a lot of combat happening then.
That makes sense.
So it really becomes a game of who can optimize their engine the fastest.
Gotcha.
And it is incredibly fun.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I actually got to play this recently, I really enjoyed it. We played with somebody, it was their second game, so it was a 3-player game. And you could really tell the learning curve of Scythe because they were having fun, they were taking all their actions, but they were not in the league of my wife and I. I think Ellen and I were 4 points apart. She ended up winning. I was so close. I really like Scythe, and I'm one of the few that likes the Wind Gambit expansion.
I think the Wind Gambit's fine, and I like it to change it up, especially if I played quite a bit of it. I still need to get the Rise of Fenris just thrown in my game. I opened it, punched it, because at that time, it was so hard to keep a consistent game group, because I wasn't going to do it on Thursdays, because who I play with changes every week. And then I had a semi-regular group, but they weren't as keen on playing Scythe over and over as I was. So I just got Rise of Fenris, punched it, and just threw it in a box, and I was going to eventually add it, but I still haven't. Andrea, you're number 4.
Agricola.
Yeah.
We have the 2-player version.
All creatures big and small.
Of Agricola, which we play quite often, actually, and I really enjoy it. And we played that first, which apparently the Agricola came out before that.
It did.
And I don't think I would have understood Agricola if we hadn't played the smaller version first. But it is managing a farm. There's a lot of theme to it, which I really enjoy. Playing the 2-player version helped me understand what was going on. But man, that game is punishing.
Yeah.
Ooh,
if you make people too early and you can't feed them, it's punishing. And if you don't make them early enough and you don't have enough people to work your farm, it's punishing.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a 3.64 out of 5 on BGG as far as heaviness. I would have thought it'd been a little bit higher.
It's got a lot of thought to it, especially for a game as old as it is.
Yeah.
What year was it published?
Looks like 2007.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been out for a little bit, but my number 4 is Terra Mystica. This was originally published by Z-Man, but now Capstone has the publishing on that. Designed by Jens Dragmuller and Helga Ostertag. Terra Mystica Scythe took the board from it. As you pull pieces off of your board, you uncover stuff that you get more of. But it also has this follow rule. When you build next to somebody, you can shift these little powers, or you might be able to get something cheaper, depending on what you've unlocked on your board. You have to teach every part of the board to each player. Then you also need to be able to teach each person's asymmetric power. Because otherwise, especially if they get a tough power, because if you randomize it and they get a tough power, they're not going to be treading water. They're going to be sinking while everybody else is, doing a backstroke. And that is just not fun when somebody's just, getting boat raced the whole game. And that's Terra Mystica. I love the mechanics. I like playing it. I do not enjoy the teach of that. I can teach it if have to, but there's better people in our game group that teaches it. And that's my number 4, Terra Mystica. That brings us to number 3. Andrea, what is your number 3?
Viticulture. We have played this a lot 2-player.
Yep.
I know it's not intended to be a 2-player game, and having it a 3 or 4-player game changes it a lot, changes your strategies and what cards you're going to get. I do like the expansions with the extra workers quite a bit, but I like the theme. It is you're making wine. And there are different seasons where you plant the grapes, you harvest the grapes, you pick the grapes, you make the wine, then you sell the wine. And so there's a lot of steps to making the wine that you got to do.
Your first year, you're probably not going to make any wine.
Right.
Unless you're like the first player.
Right.
Because you only get 3 workers. And if that first year, if you can't make wine, you need to have enough money to train you a 4th worker. And also, it does not reward you for training your workers too early. You need a few, but if you train all your workers too quickly, then you spend all of your money in workers and not enough for building up your farm. So you probably might not have irrigation or trellises for your grapes. You probably don't have a cottage to get you those extra cards that really can boost your visitors. But yeah, Agricola is a good pick. My number 3 is A Feast for Odin. This is by Uwe Rosenberg. This was originally published by Z-Man Games in 2016. Uwe likes games where there's animal husbandry and you feed your people. And this is a game where you get Tetris pieces that he ended up pulling patchwork out of, and you have a Viking village. And as you go raiding and pillaging and whatever, you get pieces to adorn your board, you cover it up, you can surround stuff, you get rewards, but you also build your economy on how much money you're going to get each round based on how well you've covered your board. Every spot has a little -1, because at the end of the game, if you haven't covered that spot, that's points against you. So you need to cover the board the best you can. Then, you also want to go out and voyage to find other little boards to put on next to yours that also have -1s that you're going to lose points for if you haven't covered them up. It's worker placement. I think it's got like 88 spots or something like that. Honestly, there's 11 spots, but there's 4 rows. Depends on how many workers you put in each row, depending on how powerful it is. The weakest, 1 worker will do a little bit. 2 workers will do more. 3 workers do quite a bit. And you put 4 workers in that 4th column. Does a really powerful action, but then you also lost 4 workers.
Yeah.
The more people you get, eventually you have to keep on feeding them. And so as you harvest stuff, you need the food to then be able to change it into stuff, but you also need to be able to feed your people. So where are you going to put the carrots you just got? You might be putting them in the Viking. But that is A Feast for Odin. David, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Twilight Imperium 4th Edition. Ooh. This is one of my absolute favorite games. I love it so much. It's a game that you have to set an entire day aside for. Like I was warning earlier in the podcast, make sure everybody eats together, or they will gang up on you. This is a game of space conquest. You are putting your ships out on the board, moving around the galaxy, trying to colonize planets, and then fight off your neighbors if they get too close.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore this game. It's not the most balanced game power-wise, I feel, but the balance comes from players ganging up on the strong.
Absolutely.
The reason this isn't number 1 for me is I honestly think it's pretty easy to play once you get a round under your belt.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't like to teach this one because the RTFM YouTube channel has the absolutely perfect watch this, you'll learn how to play in half an hour.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what I always send to my friends when we're going to play this, watch this as a refresher. Let's go.
Yeah. Very nice.
That brings us to, where are we at? Number 2?
2.
Number 2, I've got Brussels. Brussels 1893. This was published by Z-Man Games in 2013. Brussels is worker placement with area control with auctions. I absolutely adore this game. It's been probably 3 or 4 years since I pulled it out, and I need to get it to the table. This was designed by Alexander Roche. And so it's during the Art Nouveau period. You are kind of noblemen in the background. So you're putting money into the arts. You're building your own little art house. And as you're building your art house, you're using better ingredients, get you better points. But then again, if you can get your art house completed, that gets you bonus at the end of the game. So there's a hedging your bets on making points for each stage of your building, or using cheap ingredients just to get your building done. Then you're getting the rich people in town, trying to get them to help you out. If you take the card one way, it gets you a one-time bonus, and then you get rid of them. Or you can tuck them under your board for end-of-game victory points. Also, when you take the actions, there's a gridded board. When you put your guy down, you must put at least 1 franc below them. And they're in columns. Below the columns are bonus cards that are going to be auctioned off at the end of the round. Whoever has spent the most money in that column will get that bonus card. So it could be more victory points, or it could be status to get first player in the next round. It could be money. It could be multiple things. It could be to get you another worker. Those are pretty powerful. And then, depending on where you place them on the board, each little 4x4 area of the worker placement board, whoever has the most people in that area will get victory points depending on how far they've worked up their little noble side. And there's a lot to teach in this game. I really like playing it. It's been a while I've had to teach this sucker.
It sounds really complicated. What's its rating?
It is rated 3.59 out of 5. That's Brussels. Number 2, David.
My number 2 is Great Western Trail by Alexander Pfister. Probably. So one of my wife's absolute favorite games that she started playing with me early on, one of the first games she'd go, oh, let's play this one tonight. Was Broom Service. And I thought I'd trick her with, hey, this is the same designer. You might like this game. Turns out she loves it.
Hey.
And I think I've won Great Western Trail twice.
Wow.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
This is a rondel-style game where you're moving your cowboy down the trail from Texas to Kansas City. When you get to Kansas City, you sell your hand of cattle for money. You're spending your money on buildings, more workers, better trains. It's really well designed. The last time I played this was a little bit sleep deprived from new baby, and I scored an abysmal 35 points.
Oh. And what's your normal score?
Normal score can be triple digits.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Dang.
So you're looking, a winning score could be anywhere from like 80 to somewhere in the hundreds.
Yeah, did all your cows die?
I think so.
It's just so low number cows.
One of the things I don't understand about the game is you remove cows from your deck, and you by moving your train backwards, which signifies your train infrastructure. So I think thematically you're running over your cows.
Oh, wow.
Could be. That's why you lost the points. Or it fell off and you've got to go back to see if you can find said cow. We had 5. Well, we've only got 3. Go back to the last town. Andrea, your number 2?
My number 2 is Terraforming Mars. I remember before we ever played it, you were telling me about it, and I was already interested because I like thematics, and you're terraforming Mars. I mean, it's all right there in the name. And I like a lot of the engine that you build. You're raising the oxygen, you're raising the temperature, you're putting down greenery, you're terraforming the planet. And I liked that a lot of the cards, that's scientifically plausible. I enjoy that, the realism of the game. And I've always liked, sci-fi and space. So I think I was probably already hooked before I ever played the game. But I did enjoy it. The first game that we played was brutal, though, and I'm surprised. If I hadn't already been interested in the game, I'm not sure I would have played it a second time.
Yeah.
It was a 4 or 5 hour game with all the expansions. We were 5 or 6 players. I don't even remember. It took forever, and I was really struggling to keep my head above water. But I was bound and determined I was going to learn to play this game because I wanted to. I downloaded the app on my phone. I played it every day until I got it down. So that's why it's so high on my list.
Brings us to number 1. David, what is your number 1 best heavy game to you?
My best heavy game is the recently dethroned Gloomhaven.
Aww.
I absolutely love Gloomhaven.
Yeah.
This is It's incredibly difficult for the person who owns the game, though. It takes up a lot of space. It's a table hog. But most importantly, as the person who owns the game, who teaches the game, I also run the game. And Gloomhaven has a lot of admin to it. So you have, each monster has their own individual movement attack decks that you have to manage. You have to manage all of the different types of magic that are in the air, the elements, whether they're strong, waning, or gone. And it's just a lot to know, and the players really look up to you as the person who it's not like I'm proud of you. It's more of a like, what am I doing? Is this okay? I'm like, yes, you're good.
Am I doing it? Am I doing it, David?
You're Gloomhavening. Good job. Fortunately, there is an incredible Steam app for Gloomhaven. I play this online mostly at this point.
Gotcha.
This is the one game that survived when I moved. I still have game nights with my friends. We play Gloomhaven online. The downside of it is there is no undo button, even for things that you would be able to undo. Like, oh, I accidentally meant to move here. If you click finish movement, you're done moving.
Yeah.
Don't finish that move.
No.
Andrea, your number one.
My number one is a 3.71 out of 5. And if you've listened to our podcast before, you've heard me talk about it. It's Ark Nova. Again, theme, you're making your own zoo, man. You can't get much better than that for an animal lover. I love the cards. I love the gameplay. I love the actuality of you have to have an enclosure built before you can put an animal in it. And then, you have to, the more popular the animal is, it's going to sell more tickets, and that's how many ticket points you get. So it really clicked with me of, well, that totally makes sense. I need a more popular animal. Nobody's coming to see this chicken.
But he got you some tickets.
He might have. So, but yeah, I understand the theme of it. It is a little bit harder, and it's a longer game. So you've said you've only played it once, and it was a long, high player count. So you'd like to play it again. I encourage you, give it another try.
Please play it again.
So the only problem I had with it wasn't that it was long, because I agree that it's an incredibly well-designed game. The gameplay was super smooth. The problem that I had with it was I had an animal. I lost the ability to play it, essentially, in the game. And from then on, I couldn't get an animal into the enclosure that I had built. Now, I think it's an excellent game because one of the hallmarks of a great game to me is if you make a mistake, you know what you did wrong.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of times during the game I was like, this is what I could have done better. I should have snagged that card when I had the chance. I should have researched earlier.
Yeah.
And I understand that. I felt like I didn't have... It was that big deck. I couldn't find an animal to put into my enclosure.
Yeah.
But I have been thinking about it and recognizing that it makes sense thematically. If you could find an animal like that easily, it probably wouldn't be in a zoo.
We built the exhibit for the sloth. What happened to the sloth? We lost him. What are you going to do with the sloth exhibit? I don't know. We're trying to find another sloth.
Yeah.
My number one is Twilight Imperium 4th edition, published by Fantasy Flight Games, designed by Christian T. Peterson, Corey Konechka, and Dane Beltrami. The 4th edition was published in 2017. I really enjoyed TI3. TI3 was an event game for me, and every game we ever played at TI3, there was a story to go along with. We had one game day where there were 2 tables going, and 2 ladies were playing, and they had a fight, and one walked out. Yeah. We had another event where Mr. Kyle in our group, that doesn't get to play games as much as he used to, put a supernova right next to me, because he was the Embers of Morat, which gave him a door to come pester the crap out of me and then run away once I built my forces back up. We had another one where there was a 3-way alliance that we're all going to go and just see who won. against the person that taught us the game until one of them decided to then go with the person that taught us, and then the person that taught us betrayed him to win the game.
Oh.
And that was TI3. Now, TI4 has smoothed a lot of that out. The tech tree is easier to teach. The game itself is easier to teach. It's smoother, it's quicker, and in the 10 by 10 challenge when I played this, towards the end of the year, I could get this taught and played in 5 hours. That is tear down and set up.
That's the dream.
Yeah, and it was great. And I think that was a 4-player game. Mm-hmm. I think a 6-player game, we got it done in about 5-6 hours. We would go to Tap House, put out this big game, get us some curly fries, chicken tenders, chicken and waffles. And yeah, Twilight Imperium 4 is... My favorite games tend to be those games that I think about when I'm not playing them. Mm-hmm. Pitch Car is there. Concordia has been there for the longest time, although Concordia might be slipping. I played the crap out of Concordia, and it's not the fault of the game, it's the fault of me playing it so darn much. Although Viticulture is still there, and I still think about Viticulture. Mm-hmm. But TI4, I haven't played it for 2 years. It's kind of hurting. It's fallen down my top 10 list. It's still in the top 10.
Yeah, you're jonesing for some more.
I need to play just to see if it's still,
Sounds like we need to get a game going here.
Does it scratch the itch? I hope it does. But that is our top 7 games that are the best games that are heavy to us. David, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
People can find you on Instagram at
Board Game Famous.
And you have a podcast of the same name.
Yeah, you can find us wherever you listen to podcasts, I'm pretty sure. We use Anchor, which distributes on Spotify, so that's the easiest place to find us.
Yeah, ours is on Libsyn, which also distributes to Spotify, and I think I've got you guys on Stitcher. And do you guys have a Facebook?
No, we don't have one.
That's all right.
We should.
It's more work than it's worth. I've tried Facebook ads and how many people did you get to come by? 2. How much did you spend? Everything. David, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
We'll see you again in the expansion episode where we do the 8 through 14. But until then, goodbye.
Goodbye.
The 417Gamer podcast is recorded and produced by Rick Bagwell and Andrea Smith. We want to thank David from Board Game Famous for coming by. You can find his podcast on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere where podcasts can be found. And you can find picture posts from them over on Instagram and search at Board Game Famous. The music, we have Kind, Gentle, Beautiful Person. And Making Up for Lost Time was created by Origami Replica. For show notes, head on over to the Facebook page at Hobby Gaming Network. And until next time, keep gaming in the 417.